Hello everyone, my name is Ria, and in this video I'm going to explain a program which is based on classes and objects. So first of all, let me read out the question for you. Define a class data type named date containing 3 integer members, day, month and year. Develop an interactive modular program to perform the following task. The first task is to read data into class members by a function, to validate the date entered by another function, and to print the data in the format as shown, that is the normal date format which we usually write, by a third function. The input data should be 3 integers like 29, 4, 2002. This is a kind of an example corresponding to date, month and year. Now examples of invalid data is, for example, in the month of February there can be only maximum days can be 28 or 29. For leap year it can be 29, and for years other than leap year the maximum number of days would be 28. So if we enter more than 29 or 28, so that becomes an invalid date, right? So in that case you have to develop a program. You have to give such conditions which will check whether the date is valid or not. If not, it will return that the date is invalid. Now let us see how to write the code for this program. So first of all, we'll be writing the header file and the standard library file, and here we have named the class as date as it was given in the question. Now the class members are day, month and year. Now these class members by default are private. Even if we don't mention private over here, these class members are by default private. Now we are defining some of the functions inside the class, and these functions are public. We are making these functions public so that it can be accessed in any part of the program. So inside the main, first of all, we are defining a function get data which will enable the user to enter the date in the format which was given in the question. Now the user will enter the day, month and year, and once the user enters the day, month and year, we'll be checking whether that date is valid or not. For that first of all we'll be checking if the month entered is either 1, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10 or 12. That means January, April, May, July, August, October and December. So all these months have maximum number of days, that is 31, right? So if the number of days entered in this month is greater than 31, then that is an invalid date, right? So in that case 1 will be returned. Similarly, for the months, that is September, April, June and November, the maximum number of days are 30, right? So if the user enters more than 30 for these months, then that is an error, that is an invalid date. So for that 2 will be returned. And in case of February, that is an exception. So in case when month is equal to 2, so for that first of all we have to check whether that year is leap year or not. If it is leap year, so the maximum number of days will be 29, and if for a leap year, if the number of days entered by the user is greater than 29, so that is an error, and 3 will be returned. Otherwise, for normal in February the maximum number of days is 28, right? So for that, if more than 28 the user enters, so that is an error, and in that case 4 will be returned. And apart from these conditions, if the user enters any other invalid date, so in that case 5 will be returned. And finally, we will be using a function to display the date in the format which is given in the question. So this display function is used to display the date. And in the main, first of all we have created an object which is D, and we have also kept a variable to check whether if it is equal to 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever we have given above, whatever values we have returned above. So in case if the check is equal to 1 or check is equal to 2, so it will be displayed, the compiler will display that the date is invalid. This is according to the conditions that we have mentioned above. And else if the check is equal to 3, so it will return that it's a leap year, so please enter a valid date. And else if check is equal to 4, then it will display it is not a leap year, and again the compiler is asking to enter a valid date. And check is equal to 5, which means the user has entered any other date which is not of this format. So the compiler will ask the user to enter a date which will be of this format. And finally, we will be displaying the date. Now let us see how this program runs. Now let me enter a date, suppose 30, and the number of days is 30, and month is 4, and suppose 1990. So this is a valid date and the date is displayed. Now let me give an example for an invalid date. Suppose let me take the month of February, and February has maximum of 29 days, right? So 2012 was a leap year, so let me check for leap year. Suppose if I enter 30, no, February doesn't have 30 days, so 30 and then 2 and 2012. So this is a leap year. So the message is displayed that it is a leap year, please enter a valid date. So this is how my program runs. Thank you.